grand exorcisme, si on veut.
Deprecatory exorcism, or major exorcism, is practiced in a relatively intimate atmosphere.
Je dirais de relative intimité.
It involves the priest and the tormented victim. It may also be attended by people who are close to the victim, who want to offer support through prayer, people who the victim trusts. The main focus of the new ritual of exorcism is a renewal of baptism. The person is baptized back into the arms of the Holy Christ, rather than into the arms of the devil. So exorcism is a process by which the victim can now renew his faith in God and the Church.
Since the introduction of psychoanalysis, we know that the devil is not necessarily to blame for mental problems. In the eyes of the Catholic Church, claiming to be possessed doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. More often than not, the person needs a psychiatrist rather than an exorcist. Some symptoms of demonic possession can bear a striking resemblance to pathologies that are now well known by medical science.
As you know, there are 3 symptoms. First of all, the person speaks in a strange language that they have no knowledge of. Secondly, the person knows hidden events. A possessed person, as we will call them for the sake of this discussion, may be able to tell you what happened to you 10 years ago, when they should have no knowledge of this. The third symptom is having increased physical or intellectual strength depending on the person's age.
Hysteria also produces many of the symptoms typical of possession. The person is overtaken with convulsions. Its hands are clenched, its arms are bent and twisted. The expression on its face can shift from horror to anger and even rage. One of the most striking characteristics is an arched back, which practitioners refer to as the hysterical arch. It is frequently seen in cases of possession, as are most of the symptoms of hysteria. Another mental illness that is sometimes confused with demonic possession is multiple personality disorder, which is characterized by a fragmentation of the person's primary personality.
When there is a fragmentation of the personality, we speak of multiple personalities. It is the result of a traumatic experience that a child is incapable of assimilating. For example, a child placed in a situation of physical or sexual abuse is submitted to hardship and cruelty that go beyond the child's capacity to assimilate. It's as if the part of the child that witnessed an event that produced enormous suffering is capable of disassociating itself from the event, as if the child split him or herself in two. There is an initial splitting like a plant. Then the fragments can branch off into others, ad infinitum. Billy Milligan, for instance, who is a well-known case, had 24 personalities. But there have even been cases with over 100.
The overlapping of these various symptoms puts demonic possession in a gray zone, somewhere between illness and the supernatural, a no man's land where the utmost care must be taken.
In psychiatry, a case may be diagnosed as demonic possession, but the origin, the source of the possession, will not be explored by science, medicine, or psychiatry. The problem with demonic possession, like anything else in the realm of the paranormal, is that the events cannot be reproduced at will. An event is considered to be scientific in nature when it can be reproduced. Cases of possession and paranormal occurrences are very random in nature, so scientific methodology is not well suited for studying these phenomena.
Possession remains a highly controversial subject. Anthropologists see it as a cultural phenomenon, while those interested in spiritualism and the occult see it as a manifestation of the spirit world. And when the possession appears to be demonic in nature, the Catholic Church views it as an incarnation of the devil. A debatable conclusion that physicians prefer to avoid by attributing the symptoms to mental illness.
Naturally, there are a lot less cases identified these days than in past centuries. As a doctor, I think that's a good thing. But there are probably still individuals who suffer from obsessions or phobias, who go unnoticed by the medical system. The more humans there are on this planet, the more we feel alone. So there are probably a lot of people suffering that we just don't know about.
Donc, il y a beaucoup de gens qui probablement ont ces problèmes, mais qui on le saura jamais.
The possessed person is often forgotten in the battle over whether or not the invisible entities really exist. Perhaps the most reasonable approach would be one that reflects the personal beliefs of the patient rather than those of the therapist. If a patient believes that he is possessed by his grandfather's spirit, then the assistance of a medium might prove to be more effective than 500 milligrams of an antidepressant. Whether or not the grandfather's spirit really exists is secondary in importance.
We have a tendency here in North America to want to find a rational explanation for everything. We also have a tendency to deny phenomena that we cannot explain. Other cultures accept that there are things that cannot be explained, and they're able to react to the phenomena without having to find a reason for why it is happening. But here in North America, and in Western cultures of Europe, it's as if we can only accept what we can explain and reproduce. The rest just doesn't exist. But humans are exposed to a lot of forces and stimuli that we just don't understand.
Est soumis à beaucoup de stimulus et de forces que l'on ne comprend pas.
It's true that science has a tendency to see human beings as a sort of biological mechanism, and from that stance, they are clearly not open to any discussion that might lead in the direction of parapsychology. But we continue to be faced with phenomena that seem to be saying that human beings are more than a simple machine made of flesh and bone.
When it comes to possession, it is clear that until science is able to document the spirit world, beliefs in disincarnate spirits will remain a question of faith. The eternal debate of knowledge versus belief.
La croyance.